to just act like we never were to come around and not sure until we agreed by shaking hands just months ago. I was your man, was your man. Hey.
How are you? I'm so glad to see you.
I'm good. So glad to see you. I'm so glad to be on here, man. Listen, you big time. So having me, man, listen, I appreciate you.
RL, please. This is how big I am right now in my life.
Now,
in
you
the
know
world.
no, let me explain something to you. What happens is people don't understand the journey. When you see somebody and you see greatness and you know where they're going, to be able to say you were a small particle in that journey is a big deal. So don't get it twisted. You a big deal. So for me to be able to be on here chopping it up with you, I'm not gassing. I'm not gassing. No cap, as the youngsters say. I mean this.
RL?
I'm in a great mood, even though it's quarantine. Listen, I'm just happy, man.
I know.
I'm happy.
Good. Because happiness is a choice for the most part, and I'm glad to see that you are choosing to be happy, and I really appreciate that. I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. Listen, I'm honored, man. I'm ready to chop it up. I'm ready to talk like we sitting on the porch right now with some iced tea or something. Mine spiked, but I'm trying to chop it up. You know.
You definitely giving me sitting on the porch, sipping an iced tea, chopping it up. Let's do that. Let's do just that. So Ariel, tell me, because first of all, I ask everybody that comes on here to tell me who they are besides your name and one thing you love most about who you are.
Who am I? I'm music. Like literally music saved my life. And a father, of course, that also, husband. But truthfully, what I like about myself is my heart. Some people take advantage of that, but the truth is God sees everything. So I'm so blessed in spite of, regardless of, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can give and be used and taken advantage of, but truthfully, he gives it back 10 times fold. So I'm Rory and Charles' dad. That's who I am.
Yes, you are. And I love that because I saw that there was such a huge age difference between your kids because you're just out here. You out here.
Man.
A 24-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Doing it all over again.
All over again, but it's worth it, and it's an amazing journey. When I was younger, I didn't get to enjoy some of the small moments. I always say that my son is the reason I made it, and my daughter is the reason I keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because I was in high school just coming out, and I had a dream, and truthfully, I didn't have that time period of let me just chill and figure things out now. I'm a dad now. Ain't no chill time, it's go time. So literally, he's the inspiration behind all that music and grinding. So, yeah.
I love that. Well, I want to get back to your kids, but I want to know what is the thing that you do love most about who you are as a person.
It's my heart that I'm a giver. And, like I said, some people take advantage of it, but truthfully, I wouldn't change it. It's funny because there's times that I've seen people take advantage of me and I go, you know what? I shouldn't even, but the truth is I can't help it. Giving makes me happy. Doing for others, being a servant to others makes me happy, honestly.
I love that. I wanted to, well, you mentioned the kids and Rory, she's this little redhead. I love when kids get these little random traits from wherever in the family. Because I have a lot of random redheads and blondes in my family too. So I just when I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, she got one of them.
I love it.
Do you know where that's from, your wife or your side?
It has to come from both, to be honest. My great-grandmother and then Lena's grandmother, she's from New Orleans. So it's funny because when she was born, people were like, people will ask me, like, where's her hair come from? I always say God. And today she said something about her hair. And it scared me a little bit because she's like, what color is your hair, Daddy? I said black. She says, mine's red. And I was like, that's because you're special. She's like, no, it should be black. I'm like, nah, baby. So I'm trying to instill a confidence in her to make her understand. There's people that go to Walgreens and to the hair salon to get that. So,
they wish they could have that hair.
Right.
It is so gorgeous.
Thank you.
I hope she gets to and understand how special that is. I know she's only 3 now, so it's only, you know, we'll get there. But isn't that so beautiful? I love that.
Man, that's why I really push her to, and I always try to reaffirm how strong and beautiful she is. You know what I'm saying? How smart she is. So it's funny because affirmation is such a big thing for me, and I can see that that's a big thing for her. You know what I mean? So I try to remind her every day, even when she's being bad or doing something that she shouldn't be doing. I try to tell her that she's beyond that. She's better than that. And she's funny because I think she
Yeah.
picks up on it, which is super crazy.
No, these kids are different. These kids are otherworldly, kind of smart. They're more advanced kids that I've ever seen in my life. How their understanding is, and you know, kids are always funny anyway because they, you know, they know how to play you and all that good stuff. But these kids, you've had one in the past and you have one now, aren't they different?
It's different because let me tell you, this week is my week. A lot of times she'd be like, "No, daddy," and she'd be on her mind. But this week, when I'm shaving, whatever I'm doing, if I'm like, I'm about to take a shower, she's like, well, I tell her privacy. She go, well, I'll sit on the bed. I won't move. I'll just watch cartoons and I'll wait for you. And I'd be like, okay. It'd be making me feel like Superman. Like when she gives me that attention. So this week is daddy's week. So I'm like, yeah. I'd be looking at Lena like, uh-huh, it's daddy's week.
That is very freaking cute. Well, what do you feel like your kids have, both of them? Because, you know, obviously they're both different ages, different gender. So what different parts of your life as well that you've been raising them. So what do you think that they've taught you about yourself as a person and how you show up in the world?
My son taught me dedication because honestly, I was going through custody battles. I was going to court, all type of stuff. And I didn't know. I'm scared. I'm a kid. You know what I'm saying? It taught me maturity because I had to look beyond myself at a super early age. There was no, well, I could just chill, you know, I can be at my mama's house. No, that wasn't something that I wanted as an environment for him. For my daughter, she's taught me patience because truthfully, you know, I was 40 and I'm set in my ways.
Looking good though.
Thank you.
Got
Thank
it.
you. I'm 43 now, but I was 40, you know what I mean? It was like, I can remember, this is funny because I watched like the soldiers coming home and the surprise proposals and, you know, the baby surprises. And my old lady came in the house from the hair salon and just, I was on the floor with my little puppy sleep because we have like a rug and there's, you know, nowadays there's no carpet anywhere. It's just like hardwood floors. And I grew up in the hood. There's carpet everywhere. So I like laying on the floor.
Where the carpet was.
Right. So I'm laying on my little carpet, little area. And she literally wakes me up with the little test. Like, I took 2 of them. I'm like, I looked at her like, that's how you tell me? But it was the greatest thing, you know. And the funny thing is,
Sweet.
you know, being able to do the skin to skin and all these things that I didn't really get to experience with my son, it just made me really change my perspective because, again, I was set in my ways in a lot of different things. And it showed me that you're never too old to grow and evolve.
That's real. I love that. I love that you're always open to growing and to learning and to absorbing newer lessons because everything ain't the same and you can't apply the same thing to everything.
My son called me today to tell me he broke up with his girlfriend. Like, you know, he's been dating for like 9 months, longest little relationship. I don't mean to say little, but I had to tell him, like, listen, most people you date at 24, you're not going to be with at 44. Okay. So take some of the good things that you learn from it. Right. I'm like, thank you for teaching me this. This is the lesson. This is the season. And his heart's a little hurt. But after talking to me, surprisingly, he was like, thanks, Dad. I love you. I was like, okay. Because he's a man now. So it's a different kind of conversation. But I still have to be sensitive. Sometimes I want to be like, man, if you don't, you know, pull your chin up. But then I got to be understanding that I'm dad. So I'm not talking to my homeboy. You know what I mean?
No, I love that. And I'm always curious about people who have raised young men because those young men, and you have been a young man before, you get these women in such like sensitive, you know, crazy times of our lives, especially when it's the puppy love or the first loves and all those things. And I'm like, yo, who are the people that are going to teach the young men to be a lot more careful with these young women's hearts versus telling the young women, oh, don't you mess with that little boy. Don't you, you know?
Yeah, but the hard part is I grew up literally in the hood, right? And he doesn't, my job was to make sure he didn't have to, which he didn't. but then there are certain lessons that he could have learned from the hood that he don't have. So there's an edge that I have to try to teach him because that ain't necessarily in him. He played soccer, and which is great. You know, he hung out with his friends,
Right.
and so he don't know struggle per se. So his struggle, what he thinks is the end of the world, is his tank is on E. And I'm like, nah, having no car, okay? Sneaking on the bus, that's struggle. But I have to understand
Right.
there's a difference. So I had to learn to have empathy for his struggles because I'm thinking, boy, if you knew it. But then I was like, man, do I sound like the old cats sitting on the porch, like we said, like back in my day?
You know,
Right.
to walk 15 miles barefoot.
So he don't really understand that kind of struggle, but I had to understand that his struggle is different from his perspective. So again, that taught me to change my level because you got to think, I'm thinking when I'm 24, I had a mortgage. He's 24. I had a mortgage. I had child support. I had a 5 going on 6-year-old. There's different things, but I have to understand that just because that was me, that doesn't mean that was him. So my lessons for him are a little simpler, a little more watered down, which doesn't mean it's any less, but I had to understand that.
Right. I think that is so lovely. That's just a testament of a person that is just open and not rigid. Because a lot of our parents, especially from my generation, a lot of our parents are very rigid. And it's like, this is just it. Ain't no other way. And you just got to kind of like learn how to be like, okay, girl.
Well, I didn't have, you know, let me take these off because I feel industry and I'm not industry. Let me say this. I come from a really rough, I come from a really rough childhood. I had it really bad. And my vision for my children were they would never have to see that or deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And I love my parents. They're still married, you know what I mean? But it was a dysfunctional for me. And it was really hard growing up. So for me, all I thought about after I had children was dreams for them. I didn't do my job if their life isn't better because of my sacrifices, period.
Right. That's real. And that, I mean, what do you owe that to? That level of, I guess you can call it like unlearning, like how you've been taught or how you've been raised. How did you do that?
It's easy. Lloyd, who's like a little brother to me, he told me something one time. He was like, somebody walked up to him and was like, man, you changed. He looked at him and was like, man, you didn't. And I was like, got it. Sometimes I want to get home so bad. And I love Minnesota. I love Minneapolis. And I want to get home, but I'll get there. And I realize some of the people I grew up with don't realize there's a whole world out there that's not like our neighborhood. And it took me traveling to different places and being in different countries. That's why I think that every kid from the inner city should be a foreign exchange student. And vice versa. It's almost like wife swap. Some of these kids that had it really good should see how bad it really is for some of us inner city kids, because I think that's where the disconnect is. We'd have empathy for one another if we saw that we were really the same in a lot of ways. And then some of these rich kids and these entitled kids would see the struggles we have and go, wow, I didn't realize. I think a lot of this racism, a lot of this disconnect, it would be different because to me, it's more elitism. If you got bread, it don't matter if you black, white, green, yellow, brown. That's what I really think it is. I think that even Donald Trump, it's about bread. If I got some money and I can help him or we can make some money together, he gonna love me. Black, brown, yellow, green, whatever. But it's really people that have money.
That does seem like his thing.
Yeah, people don't understand that people that have less than, it ain't because we want to. They go, hey, you can just make money. You can go get a degree. No, it ain't that easy. We starting in the negative. You know what I mean? So it's different. So I have to teach my kids, you got to work harder than the next person. To this day, I get up at 4:30 in the morning because I want to start before you. I want to work harder than you. I want to work longer than you. I want every advantage possible.
I'm tired. That's so early. What time are you going to bed?
Like 10:30. I used to get up at 5:30, but when Lena got pregnant, I knew that she would have to get up and go to work, and she's an executive, and I knew that I had to time my gym time around that, and I wanted to make sure I would be home to help her with Rory. So before it was like, okay,
so that's what that time is for in the morning.
So I made it instead of 5:30, 4:30, so I could make sure I was home so she could go get on the Peloton and treadmill and then get ready for work, and I could feed the baby and different things like that. But it's really about making new habits. You just said breaking old habits and trying to unlearn certain things. It's the same thing. You can't tell me you're never around a parent or a relative and they do something and you go, dang, that's exactly what such and such was complaining about with me. And it makes you reevaluate certain things you do.
Oh man, yes, a lot. You're like, oh, that's what that looks like. Got it.
Let me change that up, man.
That's real. That's so real. Well, I want to go a little bit into music, because obviously that is one of the things that you do well. Wait, before I even go to that, I made a bookmark in my head and it just came back up. But your day, starting at 4:30, we get to the gym, we do our thing. What are we doing all day?
I'm in the studio. It's funny because I've always written and arranged, but I started producing myself, and my partner, Brian B. Flat Cook, he was really pushing me. He's like, you know how to produce. Why don't you make beats? And I started doing that a little bit more. I want to be better. I want to keep continuing to evolve.
I see that. Okay. So you're just out here working on yourself all the time and just being great. Okay.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
No, that's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
So into the music conversation, you have been around and you've been doing your thing. So we got to know you from Next first.
Right.
And I did want to say, if I ever got a chance to talk to you, I got in trouble a lot for singing these songs. A little ahead of my time. But y'all saw, like, Too Close was always like a junior high school bop. Always, consistently. Like, they always play that at the dances. But why are we singing this song? Why would you do this?
You know what? It's funny because I never liked up-tempo R&B. I didn't even want Too Close to be a single. But
it was so good.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Thank you, but let me tell you why. I'm not a club person. I don't like crowds, and it's because you can't give one person the attention they deserve. So if you come talking to me, here comes somebody else, and then I'm rude to you because I have to start going over here. I don't drink in public really, because I got to be on my P's and Q's, watching everything around me. So I never was really into that. So when I was coming up, we made the little sex tapes and the little slow jams, because we was trying to be mannish. So when it came to up tempos, it was always about the beat and the feature. You had a rapper on there. You had some popular sample, and we didn't have none of that. So I said, okay, we have to come up with dope subjects. So if you look at the up-tempo records I've written, some could be partially about a club, but they weren't really revolving around dancing at the club, and because that wasn't me. Wifey could have been a slow song. It's talking about the wife and the woman you're with. Whatever for Ideal. Let's talk about, the hotel and, whatever you want to do, or just in case. That was honestly a slow song. We double timed it. We sped the beat up, but it was really a slow song when I wrote it. But I wanted to be able to say, how can I take a subject that's relative and speed it up so you can party to it, but you can relate to it too. So we were around some girls in New Jersey at the Peppermint Lounge, me and Tweet, and they would talk about they would dance up on guys on purpose to try to get them aroused so they could see what was popping. And we like, aha, gotcha. And when you have women, if you look like, I love when you shake it like that. Yeah, I see that you always have call and response. A lot of guys make the mistake of leaving women out of the records, and it's the women that really are your first supporters. Just like Wifey, or Step Back, You're Dancing, or Will You Be My Little Mo?
Right.
Yes, I'll be yo. It's always having a place for a woman to have a voice. That's what it is.
And we sing both parts anyway.
See that? Aha.
Well, the dudes, and that's funny because the dudes won't sing both parts, but we'll sing both parts.
I mean, but y'all get a pass. It's different. I can't imagine a guy in the club like, I see that you like. I'm sorry. Like, if you do, hey, bro, much love if you do. No, hey, listen, sing it all.
You gotta own it. But no, that was like legitimately such a bop, and I didn't even think about that fact of the whole like up-tempo R&B. So how do you feel about like the way that you've been able to come about as an artist and as a songwriter, and then how do you feel about your transition, or not your transition, your journey through the industry?
There used to be bitterness because I wanted more. You always want more, but then you have to look back at where you were and understand how much you are blessed. 23 years later, I'm still here. Do I feel like I should have had more success or people will find out I wrote all these records that they didn't know about. Literally, I just did the Unsung Live and performed, and people were like, I didn't know he did this and this, because I didn't brag about it. There wasn't social media for me to flex, to be like, yeah, and I did this and did that. And I was in a group, so it was really about the group. So we never talked about individual
Oh,
accolades.
wow, yeah.
So people never knew all the things I did. So I was just that guy from the group. I wanted people to see I was much more. The one thing I wanted people to know about me, as far as RL, was I was an artist. A lot of times we call singers or performers artists. No, sometimes I've worked with singers and performers. A singer is somebody he can blow, but put him on stage, he's
Right.
not. It's not about his presence. People just love his voice. You have an artist, or sorry, you have a performer. You give him the record, he's gonna sell it like a car salesman. An artist is somebody you
Right.
can put in a room with a blank slate, and they come out with a product. It's a difference. So I really love artistry. And the one thing that I want people to know about me, in the end, regardless with all things said and done, Mr. Butter Love, Wifey, Mr. Nasty, Too Close Man, is that I was an artist, because I was the man behind a majority of, those records.
Well, I know, and I mean, now that there is social media and all this other kind of stuff, like, let us know. Like, you can shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, but okay, I'll say this, and this will age me. Social media is the exact opposite of how I was raised. And what I mean by that is, my mom used to be like, you act like you ain't used to nothing. They'll see it when they see it. You ain't got to show nobody what you got. And it was looked at as bragging to me. Social media is the place that you flex and show your drip. So if I don't show you what I got, I must not have it. So I'm retraining myself, as you said earlier, talking about parents and things like that, to go, no, show off a little bit. But I never wanted to flex. It was always about being humble. And if they know, or they'll read the album credits, or they'll find out. But surprisingly, people will run into me and be like, oh, wow, you still look good, or oh, you still sound good. Like, they expected me to be a crackhead or something. Like I feel like it's my responsibility.
We just love y'all to be washed up.
Right, for real. And I feel like it's my responsibility to all the other artists in my genre. So when people see me, I represent them. They got to see me and be like, oh, okay. Because I represent the Drew Hills, the 112s, the Jaggeds, not just Next. Because when they see me as a guy from one of those groups from that era. So it's my job to take care of myself and represent myself and my culture to the best of my ability.
Right, I feel that. And to your point of social media, like, when it started, I really loved just sharing my life with folks and people. Like, I didn't even have that crazy of a following, nothing like that. It was just me, like, sharing my life with my friends, checking out my friends, like, just moments and stuff. And then I feel like it slowly became, like, Brag City. And sometimes because, like, I'm never gonna, and I feel so many ways about the blessings, right? Because, like, I've been raised the same way, but I've also been raised to where my mom's like, nah, you need to let people know where God is blessing you.
Right.
So I look at all of the ways that things happen for me in my life as blessings. Like, I get to do some amazing stuff, and I didn't even know choosing journalism was going to get me in all these other places that I've been. So I'm always in shock.
But see, but you're in media. You're in media. But you're in media, so it's different for me. I almost feel like
it still feels like bragging to me, though, RL.
Yeah, but see, for me, I look at it like all these people spend their hard-earned money to buy my music or come to my show, and I'm supposed to show them the fruits of the labor of their labor and throw it in their face. Like, look how well I'm doing, and you scrounged up some bread to buy tickets to come to my show. But look at me. I just felt like I'm not comfortable with that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to learn to show a little bit. And then when you're in the midst of working, to be able to go, oh, let me take this. That's the hard thing. Even in shows, people that have their phones, the older folks that have their iPads, sorry, y'all, because I'm one of y'all, but I ain't gonna have no iPad. They got their iPads out, and they're so busy taping that they're not enjoying, they're not even in the moment. My big thing is moments. And luckily I have my wife, so she'll tape everything. You know what I mean? So I'll be with my daughter, and I'll be mad that she's taping, but then she'll send me the footage or the pictures, and I'll be posting them super quick. Right. But it's a generational gap, I think, because she's like 6 years, almost 7 younger than me. And you know, we started with Black Planet. I tell people that it was Black Planet. That's it. And we were just happy to put music on our page, put in area codes in the city we were trying to meet girls. We didn't even have MySpace. You know what I'm saying? So it's a
You had a Black
disconnect.
Planet page?
Heck yeah, come on, do you know? Did I? We had the little music. Once you could put music on there,
Wow.
oh.
Whoa. Were you meeting people off Black Planet RL?
Listen, my old lady looking right now, you don't know, I was actually studying for the
It was the
priesthood.
past.
Yeah.
It was the past for so long
Right.
ago, boo. RL, let me find out. I wish that URL still exists. I would go looking for your page, see
Listen,
what music you were playing on it.
listen, if they had camera phones and social media out when we was first out, we'd be the most hated men in America. All of us. Because it was just a different world.
It was a different time. It was completely different. And these days are the days of the reckoning. So there was no accountability back in those days. I mean, I do want to talk about that because you know what, RL, like we have seen because of biopics and things like that, and in behind the musics and different types of shows like that, we've been able to see a lot of things that have happened that we didn't know about, especially
Right.
when it comes to guy groups and groups in general, because TLC was a part of that conversation too. But to see how people got either taken advantage of or come to find out the industry's not what they thought it was. What kind of stuff did Next have to deal with? Because I don't remember seeing y'all have any real big issues.
No, we did. You know, for me, they're real brothers. You know what I'm saying? So there was a disconnect with me with them. I'm the youngest. All of a sudden, the label kind of thrust me into this face of the group. I never say lead singer because I feel like that's disrespectful to them because I've never felt like I was that.
I was like, should I say lead singer?
Yeah. Truthfully, we all led in our own ways, and honestly, Tilo, the oldest member, was really one of my biggest influences. So it's like, you know, I was a young bull, and once the labels and the audience decided, okay, he's the guy that we look at as this, I felt like that created a wedge, not purposely, but it does because we all are grinding together. I mean, for me, I look at it like we splitting it a third, a third, and a third. So that's all that should matter. But truthfully,
Right.
when you're putting your work in and you're staying in your lane, and that's why a lot of groups break up because cats don't stay in their lane. You're staying in your lane. People can get offended because we're all sensitive. We all working hard, and you know, you got coworkers, and you're all doing the same work, and one person gets the prize of the employee of the month, and you're like, well, wait a minute, we did this project together. But
Right.
truthfully, the politics of the industry hurt us because people will go, you know, whatever happened to Next, or you know, things like that. And for me, we had the third album, we were putting it out, and during the second album, Clive left Arista and started Jay. So we were told that we could make any decision we wanted. If we wanted to stay with L.A. Reid at Arista, we could. Well, we met with him, and he hadn't listened to our album. We had the #1 song in Wifey out at the time. So then Clive flies us out to his house, Clive Davis, to his house, and all the staff that had, you know, groomed us was there going to Jay. So we decided to stay loyal and stay with Clive, but he didn't have a staff. But they told us, they misled us and said, regardless of what you decide, you'll have both labels supporting this album. Well, we found out when we decided to stay with Clive and go to Jay that Arista would tell radio to play Pop Your Collar by Usher instead of Wifey, and then which became Beauty Queen. So after that first single of Wifey, you didn't really hear anything. And all of a sudden, Clive said, okay, we'll do another album. We did my album, and then we did the next album, but there wasn't even a staff at Jay. So you had Tyrese, Jimmy Cozier, Busta Rhymes, Luther, Eric Sermon, and me. All our albums came out in the same month, and they threw them out because of billing. No promotion, no marketing. Oh, I'm saying the next album, I'm sorry, but they threw all these albums out, no marketing, promotion, and it killed us. And from then on, we just had like a really sour taste in our mouth with the industry. We've been blessed, and luckily we've had records that were pretty big in magnitude, so we could continue to work. But it was surprising to learn that the industry wasn't about music. It wasn't as bad as it is now, but it started turning right about that time to be about things that had nothing to do with music.
That's so crazy. And it's just such a weird thing because people are just so talented and ready to give their art to the world, and it's all this red tape and politics and gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's so nuts. Well, how do you feel about music now, and what is your contribution to it? Are you still trying to do both the singing and the songwriting?
Well, me and my partner, we did the pull up for Ty Dolla Sign and Lil Duval. We wrote and produced that. We've done a lot of different things like that. I got Tyler, my nephew. He's coming out with his project. He has his single out. My new single, You Are, is out. We just been working. For me, the creative process and making music is fun. And luckily, I've been successful enough to where I don't have to go, well, let me do this. My biggest thing that bothers me is you'll go into meetings now, and it used to be, let me hear a hit record. If you have a hit record, we can work it. We can get it out there, get the world to hear it. We're good. Now it's, what's your social media presence? How many followers do you have?
Really?
It has nothing to do with the music. So question, how many times have you heard your favorite artist come out with some barbecue BS and you go, this ain't them. This ain't that such and such I know. It ain't because they've evolved into this. It's because somebody that really didn't or really wasn't groomed in music is pulling the strings. It wasn't, okay, I'll say it like this, and I'm going to be candid as possible. So you get put on. You get a label, like you're Puffy. You started in the mailroom, you promoted clubs, you know music, you know the lifestyle. You live and breathe music. You get put on. What's the first thing you do after you buy your mama a house and get yourself a car and get yourself a chain? What's the next thing you do?
Invest.
No, you put your homeboys on. They have nothing to do.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Invest
right.
in.
Yeah, but you put homeboys on that probably from the streets. They don't even know music. That when they think you like, you ain't need to do this no more. I hit a lick. I got a bag for you. Let's go. I got this label deal. So now you got people in the game that don't love music. They don't know music. What they know is hustle. They know how to flip, like it's flipping houses, flipping cars. So it's about now, how can I turn this 100 into 500? It isn't about music and working an artist and grooming an artist and making the superstar. It's about what's your presence like in your hometown? You got any buzz? So is your record buzzing right now? Or we gonna sign this, put a little extra push behind you, and now we can all eat a little more. It's less risk but really less reward. So now there's people in place in a lot of these places that don't live and breathe music. They don't care about artistry. They don't care about somebody they see that can make hit records. They go, it's a hustle. They want to flip. It's like the dope gang.
So does that make it hard for you to want to be a part of that?
I don't even want to be a part of it. It's like making music, and if people hear it, that's beautiful, because I make music that I want to be able to look back at and be proud of. There's songs from some of my favorite artists that come out, and I go, what is they doing? And I know that that's really not them, and nothing against them. I just know that there's people that are so talented. Brandy's one of the most talented women that have ever walked the earth, vocally. Jasmine Sullivan. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that the most talented vocalists usually aren't the most successful? It's about marketing.
I always ask myself that. What were y'all doing with Brandy? Well, Brandy's pretty successful for pop and everything, but
she should be. She should be Celine Dion right now. She should be.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like she is it. Jasmine. Are you kidding me?
Even Fantasia, but you know what? Part of it isn't even the industry. Our culture has a Ciroc mentality. So I could talk to some old white guy and he's like, oh, I'll just take a whiskey. My grandfather drank that. He'll wear some Levi's or Lee's, some New Balance or some Adidas, same stuff his granddaddy and his granddaddy's granddaddy wore, right? Us, on the other hand, with Ciroc, Blue Dot came out. Then like a month later, what's next? We need something new. We have a short attention span and we tend to want to throw our artists away. But until we get to the funeral, you look at Whitney. We were label mates.
Oh.
I love Whitney. They dogged her. They made fun of her addiction and her issues instead of trying to bring her up. You feel what I'm saying? Instead of trying to empower her and say, kind of like my daughter, when she does something crazy, I have to go, you're better than that. Don't you see who you look in the mirror? Look at yourself. Do you realize who you are, your greatness? Nobody did that with Whitney. Nobody on the outside. They teased her, they mocked her, they made jokes. But then they're at the funeral crying, and there's a void. in the world because she's gone. And that's crazy because I feel like that's what our culture does. Not white comedians. It wasn't Jeff Foxworthy making jokes about her. It was us. But we do that. It's with white artists, as long as they don't rape somebody or kill a dog, they love a comeback story. They love Rocky. Us, I hate to say it like this, we love the fall. So when I hear stuff like Jay-Z need to give it up, Lil Wayne is, oh, we need the new. We do not really appreciate greatness until it's the funeral, which is sad. And I don't mean to generalize because I love my people. Believe me, I'm from Minneapolis, so I was out there and I see that, the revolution and the evolution, and I support that. I'm black to the bone. A little lighter, Miss Butterworth, butter, you know what I'm saying? But I'm black, okay? But I hate to say it, but I hate to say it, a lot of our people seem to take for granted the greatness that's in our community.
You said a mouthful, because I was just like, even in thinking about how people respond to maybe even the idea of cancel culture and how that there's no ever really any redemption. And I know that that's all personal barometers and personal boundaries around what can be redeemed and who can get forgiveness and things like that. But I do believe that that is a part of that too, the cancel culture and the,
I hate that.
Wanting people to fail.
Yeah, well, I come from a time of OGs where if you came out your mouth and said something that wasn't right, they want to redirect you and put you on the right path because they know that probably you're around some other cats that think they're just like you. And if they can affect you, they can affect change. And if they can change your perspective, that means 10 other people you hanging with might change their perspective. We seem to want to cancel. It's like even with Kanye. I love Kanye, right? And people canceled him. But what they didn't know was he said, look, I put on that hat, went and tap danced around Donald Trump to get that beautiful lady out of jail. And that's what he said. And he took it. And to be honest with you, Jay-Z to an extent, and I'll give an example. We are so worried about the journey instead of being focused on the destination. Okay, you got Colin over here. He kneeled. His journey, he sacrificed a lot. Jay comes from a corporate perspective where he's like, I want to get in the building, maneuver, find out how they work, and I want to take over from the inside out. They're both trying to get to the same destination, two different ways. We're so focused on looking at somebody and how they get there instead of just trying to pull them along so we can all meet at the destination.
I hear you, but there are times where the means of getting to said destination are dangerous. So things like Kanye saying things like slavery being a choice.
Agreed.
And, and thoroughly backing up Donald Trump, who has been known to say really dangerous things against people, specifically Black people, and saying supportive things specifically to people who are white supremacists, dangerous white supremacists. So
I agree. I agree.
Tend to recoil a little bit because you're like, okay, I feel you.
Can I ask you something?
Trying to do these great
D,
things.
let me
giving the money for George Floyd's daughter.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If you're on death row and about to die, what are you willing to do to get off death row? I'm willing to say anything. I'm willing to eat somebody's pet hamster to get off death row. So if you're telling me a man has to act like he cool with somebody in order, there's him and Kim, like, watch this. They talk about Kim. She was on a sex tape. Do you know how many girls from the hood is on somebody's phone randomly doing what Kim was doing? But Kim's mama took that and made a fortune. And
that's also an anomaly. I don't know. I can't really speak to the Kim Kardashian Brady train.
I'm not even on. I don't watch whatever the show is, but I'm saying that if they're
she
taking,
has created a whole gravy train for that family based on her sex tape. That's the only reason.
Right.
Famous.
But they
don't happen to just everybody.
But they've taken that to free some of our people. I'm not saying they're saints. I'm not saying none of that. I'm saying that I'll take any help we can get. If we get one person on death row, and I think they've gotten a few, or using their social media prowess to bring attention to. Do I agree with a lot of the things they do? No, that's not even my cup of tea. Do I want my daughter on that? No, not at all. Ain't enough money in the world. But what I'm saying is, we're so busy worrying about how somebody else is moving when they're getting, all I want is results. As long as you're not killing somebody, as long as, if you want to throw yourself under the bus,
I
because
think that
nobody,
it's a little touchy. It's just not that black or white, because I just think that there's a lot of dangerous, like I said, dangerous paths to said journey. I know that freedom does not have a linear path. I get that.
Right.
But I don't think you have to burn down stuff and completely negate your people and your ancestors and the work that they have done for this country for the free in order to shuck and jive just so you can say I can get in here. I just don't believe in that. But I also am not on his level. I also don't run in those circles. I don't know what it's like to break bread with someone like Donald Trump or even someone as powerful as a president. But I just think that I don't know. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good what he has done.
Well, okay. I don't think I would have used his tactics, but what I'm saying is, all I'm looking at is results. If we're talking about Centoya Brown, all these people,
he could have got the same results from not saying any of that.
But my truth is, how do we don't know that. Honestly, we can say that, but
Arnell, he could have given $2 million to any college fund of any victim of any police brutality.
I'm not even talking about that, because he didn't tell.
Say what he said.
No, but see, he didn't tell that though.
Resources.
He didn't tell that.
He what?
He didn't tell about the money he gave. Other people did, because there's homeboys and people he's around that knows he's getting attacked. But truth is, when you're on Kanye's level, none of that matters. What people say doesn't matter, because he's a pop icon now. The truth is, if you're dependent on, at his level, if you're dependent on our people, you're not at his level. If you go to a Kanye concert, a 50 Cent concert, an Eminem concert, if you look in the audience, 60 to 70% of them people ain't us. We just talked about how we throw ourselves away.
But that's not necessarily, that's also not black or white, right?
True.
I don't want to say people don't show up because they don't want to be there. I didn't go to concerts growing up because we couldn't afford it.
That's true.
I had to wait. So I don't want to say that black people are broke, because that's also not it. Like, yeah, that's not it either. That is not it. But we know that is also not, it's just not fully that white folks are showing up to concerts because they are the biggest supporters of black music. It's just that they usually can.
Partially. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times it's about that new for us. And I wish that we were a little more loyal. We just talked about, like with Whitney, I wish we were we showed a little more empathy.
Give the people,
you know what I mean, for artists, because they'll go, and I hate these words. I hate old school. I hate the word throwback, because when you're talking about pop music and it's an older artist, they say classic. Do you know what the difference between a classic and an old school is? Old school, you got to put candy paint on, rims, switches, all these things that aren't original. A classic is all original parts. Next is the original three members. Is that old school or classic? And I know people go tomato, but truthfully, why is it that Cher and Rod Stewart and the Rolling Stones are doing arenas when the people that influenced their music, like the OJs, are doing the Chitlin circuit?
Now here is a point that is a point, but I don't know. I don't want to put the onus on the audience per se, because like you said earlier, the industry is a lot of things. Could it be that the industry is in support of the Rolling Stones and the Elvises and the Celine Dion's? And
no, because if it's a Tyler Perry play, or if it's Earth, Wind and Fire, who's my cousin, Philip Bailey's my cousin, or if it's Frankie Beverly and Maze, they out on the lawn chilling with a bottle of wine, or 2020 Mad Dog, whatever it is, and they kicking it. All I'm saying is, we tend to, and this isn't even a woe is me story. We just tend to underappreciate artists and put them in a box and go, this is who you are. Go and sing these same songs for the next 20 years that you did 20 years ago. We don't want to hear nothing new from you. No need to evolve. None of that. Just be old and do this music. And I feel like there's so much more greatness in all of us. And I think that we should all explore that. And part of that is traveling and meeting different people and experiencing different things. And a lot of that is systematic. I'm not blaming us. I'm not saying we're not victimized as a people, because we are. And that's exactly why everything is going on in the world. Look at my city. Most of my city is burnt up. You know what I'm saying? Where I come from is burnt up. Because people are tired. I agree with that. But I do know I'm out and I see these people that want to downplay your accomplishments. If you talked about a Grammy Award or Oscar Award winning artist, right? If they won that Grammy or Oscar 30 years ago, how you announcing them? Oscar Award winning, Grammy Award winning, right? Now there's artists, great artists from our genre. You know, Mary J. Blige, she's the queen. There's all these great artists. She's probably the only one that isn't attacked. I mean, really think about it. Puff's attacked, or Diddy, or whatever you want to call them. People want to find reasons to attack us when we should really be lifting each other up, because we're all we got. It's us. Like the way you're doing now, when you wanted to say all these accolades about me and you were looking for your Google document and all that, just knowing that you wanted to really say all these kind of things about me was enough. Because in reality and in retrospect, that's not usually how it is. This quarantine, you know, besides the fatalities on it, for artists like myself, has given us an advantage, because a lot of times my audience was, you know, at work, raising kids. They didn't have time to be online watching and looking at things. Now, because of this quarantine, we've been blessed with an audience to be able to go, oh, that's where they've been, or this and that, you know, they're informed. So I'm so blessed because I'm being on here with you, and we can have a straight conversation and banter and disagree on Kanye and little things like that. But it's all love. But that's the problem. Because guess what?
But I still love you very much.
But guess what? Most of the times, with us, if we disagree on some, conversation over. There's no growth. That's why a lot of these, I don't know if it's Antifa, whoever these left, right wing people are, they can come together because they can disagree, but their common goal is hate. Their common goal is hating us. Their common goal is to keep us down. Their common goal is to keep their economic and social advantages over us. So if we came together, even if we disagree about certain things, we can't even be defeated. There's people watching right now that might disagree with my perspective. That doesn't mean they can't love my music or can't love other things that we've talked about. But in the end, a lot of times what happens? You get canceled. It's over. I didn't like what he said.
Or they clip that one part of our interview. RL agrees with Kanye West, thinks slavery is a
right. And I don't.
That's not all. We talked for a whole hour. He hates slavery.
Right.
That's real, but I think your bigger point around the love and appreciation of our legends and our people that we should be lifting up, and in comparison to seeing these other white counterpart legends have, their flowers, their cake, their everything. It is something to that. It really is, because even when I had Dionne Warwick, I interviewed her when I was at Essence last year, and we had this amazing conversation about the idea of legend and what that means. And she said that she does not believe that Beyonce is a legend yet. And she also said that she's a fan of Beyonce, but she said that our generation throws that word around, and it's not a good word to use unless people have really put in their decades of work, and not just 20. She's talking about real time. This is Dionne Warwick. This is the mother of Black pop music for women.
Right.
So I'm trying to make sure that people understand all of that, but also hear the context of the conversation, because I'm a journalist, but I'm also an editor and producer. So I'm putting together this video.
And you got to put the clip. You got to put the clip in. You got to, so they'll go watch, but they're not going to go watch. Their attention span is so small. They're going to look at that quote.
And they took that and dragged it out. Dionne Warwick says Beyonce is not a legend. And then you have people who are honestly, I don't know, black, white, or whomever, thoroughly disrespecting Dionne Warwick on social media. And it broke my heart because I was like, no, that's not even the conversation. This is a full video interview, not the conversation. And then for you to think that because she says something about Beyonce that you don't like, that you can outright disrespect a godmother of pop music. She pioneered pop music to have Beyonce even be able to sing pop music.
And she's an OG to where she can have that opinion.
Mind.
She can have that opinion. Even if she really felt like that.
She can say whatever she wants.
That's the OGs get away with that. They could, listen, Cicely Tyson, people like that, they whatever you want to say, okay, yes, ma'am. It's that simple, but there's a level of respect Cicely that we don't give each other.
Yeah, Cicely Tyson could literally be like, I don't like Kerry Washington's acting. And we would be like, oh, okay.
But Cicely Tyson could tell me to go to hell, and I'm trying to call the devil. I'm calling 911. I'm calling 411. Excuse me, you got the devil number?
I'm calling ahead because Cicely told me to make my way down. No, I believe that is a true thing that we need to dig into. I just, like I said earlier, I don't know if it's us on top of the industry not giving us and our legends the ability to have that same platform, to have those same call outs. Like, you often hear Mariah Carey be mentioned in the same conversation as the Beatles when it comes to records and things like that. But can we talk about how big that is? The Beatles and Mariah, like, that's a huge, right. That's big.
Yeah, Janet, all these different people, all these people that are, I think that there's greatness and I think there's levels of legendary. I do think you have to put things in and continue to evolve and grow. I think the advantage of today is social media and digital music. You know, back then you had to go in the studio with, like, it wasn't sequenced and it was like really a band.
It makes it so less sacred.
Right.
Because it's so everything's so microwavable. So it does make it feel like, to your point, that just whoever, I have this beat.
Well, I mean, what you have to learn to do is evolve. But when you get to a certain age and a certain point in life, you don't have to. You know, there's nothing, you've done it all. What is it to do? Now you're supposed to just relax and enjoy, right, the fruits of your labor. So somebody like Dionne and these people, they're OGs. So they are a little far removed. They're not on the gram chilling. They're not on, you know what I mean? So they're not seeing a lot of these things that everybody else sees. They're listening to the music. So a lot of times we'll like something because we like the artist. Back then, that wasn't the case. You had to work. It had to be cold. If it wasn't, it didn't matter. Now it's, oh, I love such a, did you hear that line in that record where she said or he said this? It's not even about a body of work. It's about singles. Back then, it was about albums. You had to put a whole body. She was with Burt Bacharach and all these great, in symphonies and things like that. So it was different, but right, it doesn't diminish Beyonce and these other great artists in their artistry. It's just saying it's a whole different kind of work we had to do. We was on buses, like no air conditioning, Chitlin Circuit.
It's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. I just got my notification that we're running out of time. We got about a minute left. Okay. So I want you to tell the folks with this minute what you're working on, what's coming out next for you, and what you want them to pay attention to, RL.
Okay, we have the Next by Nature project with the OGs, Naughty by Nature, who discovered us. That's coming. My partner, B-Flat, Brian B-Flat Cook, he has this project coming out actually tomorrow. My album is The Procession. I'm also doing an Afrobeats album, but before that, I got a free EP I'm dropping called The Letter J, where I sample John B, Jodeci, and Janet Jackson. So that's coming out for us. I'm giving that away free. But I want to take the last 30 seconds or so, is I want to tell you how honored I am to be on your platform. It is amazing. It's a blessing. This has been one of the best interviews and, well, really conversations I've had. And it's really enlightening for me. Honestly, I'd love to come back anytime. This is amazing to me. And I hope that your audience understands the greatness that's right here. And I know when your platform grows and grows and grows, I'll be able to see you on TV and tell my daughter that you interviewed me before. So I'm honestly honored. And I thank you so much.
RL, I don't have time for this. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.